roll call?
Yeah,
Lois?
do roll call.
Okay. Chuck Perry, absent. Richard Soto here.
Present.
Alan Seabold here. Eric Farner,
He's out of town.
okay. Raymond Fraze,
Here.
Bill Crow,
Here.
Dan Callahan. We have a quorum.
So you'll,
Yeah,
Okay.
but,
Staff's here too. Raymond.
yeah, but call the public.
can you call the public?
Then you have me.
Okay.
Can we take just a minute to introduce ourselves? Mr. Crowe?
I'm
Bill
Bill
Mr.
Crowe.
Crowe.
Anything in particular you want me to say? I've lived here in Bisbee about a year and a half.
No, I was after, like, members of the airport advisory versus interested parties. That's what I was, so you're a member of the
So I am a
airport.
member.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Interested parties in what?
Are there people here that are not members of the,
Yeah.
then that would be an interested
Yeah,
party?
yeah.
Okay. So you're Marilyn?
Yes, I'm here.
All right.
I'm Dan Callahan,
Yes, sir.
Bud Phrase.
Dwayne Wallace.
Rudy Farmer, interested party.
Thank you.
Robert Smith, city manager.
I'm Peter Levine, definitely interested party because I've been involved with getting the Friends of the Bisbee Airport going.
Joan Hanson, former liaison, but interested party.
Richard Sullivan, Vice Chair.
Thank you, and of course David Smith from there. The reason I called this was to find out exactly where we're at. We, as history, real quickly, as most of us know, that when we entered the budget year, there was a number of people on the council that were ready to defund the airport. And this was brought to the advisory group, and as a result, then it was discussed that in order to, for that not to happen, that it would be looked at for a third party to become involved, and that we could then, I don't want to use the word negotiate, but that's really what we're talking about assets and things like this for that third party, which was Friends of the Bisbee Airport, basically, to do something about that. And we are now halfway through the budget year, and I'm unaware of any movement. I've asked for updates, and I haven't received any. And we will be entering in like 2 short months, we're gonna be starting into another cycle of funding. And I need to know exactly where we're at on this so that I can, in good conscience, take this forward to the council. And so that's where I'm at. And like I said, I have asked for updates, and I even put artificial, I'm saying artificial because they weren't followed, requests in for reporting dates, like November 1st and extension to November 15th and so forth. And so that's where I'm at. That's why I've called the meeting to, as they say, lay it out under the table to find out where we're at on this thing, because we can't be in a position of, trust me, we're gonna get this done through another funding cycle.
Well, we do have the 5 members for the directors. Bonnie Finkley's been working on it. Peter is the president, is it called president or chairman?
President.
Of the LLC. I mean, it's not gonna be an LLC now. Now first it was gonna be an LLC, then she decided she wanted to incorporate it. So, right?
Right,
You wanna tell about it?
sure. We started out thinking, okay, we should.
Why don't you sit up here at the table?
Okay,
Would you mind?
no.
Joni, you can sit up here at the table.
So I just sit by myself and all my friends.
Didn't want to crash the party. An interested person, wanted to be an invited person, no. Thanks. So we start out, we were gonna be an LLC. Bonnie Finkley said, after she did some research, she said, oh, it would be better if you guys became an Arizona nonprofit corporation, because from there, the paperwork going to the IRS for 501c3 status was much easier, much simpler, easier application. So we said, yes, do that. So she sent me articles of incorporation, which we've looked at. We need to sign that. And also with that, she said she needs a letter from Robert. 501c3 status, she just got a draft of it out today. I saw it, and she sent that to him also. So that, and my understanding is those two have to go together for the nonprofit corporation status. We, Friends of the Airport, Friends of Bisbee Airport, have done a bunch of emailing where we've come up with points like, okay, what about this? Here's some of the big points: insurance, fuel cells, things like that. Refined them down to a list. Robert has seen those. I think his last comment to me was, you know, once your group gets organized, then we need to look at these more closely and decide just what's gonna happen. So that's pretty much where we're at right now.
So really, almost everything that's moving has been in the last week or so.
A couple months, a few months.
Well,
It's
no, it's longer than that.
Well, I'm not, I don't,
But as far as
I'm not,
really
I'm not trying to be
becoming-
antagonistic.
Yeah, no, as far as really crystallizing as a real
Yeah.
organization, yeah, it's been real recent.
So,
And and also,
Yes, sir.
I didn't know, I've been communicating stuff to Robert, and I thought, I never, no offense, but I never even thought, oh yeah, the mayor needs to be copied on this.
Yeah.
I just thought, I'm dealing with the city manager, and
Of course.
this is a big learning curve, learning process.
You're
so
not hurting,
we're just trying
you're not
to-
hurting my feeling.
Okay,
I'm not one of those kind of people.
Okay,
But
but just so you know.
But you might include me in the future, so, just so that I'll know, because I get asked a lot of questions
Sure.
that Robert doesn't get asked.
Right.
And if I don't know, then,
Can't answer.
I can't answer, and then I gotta go to Robert, and it's back and forth.
Right, okay.
It's just easier if you don't mind, sir.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Now that I know, you're on it.
All righty. There I am.
Okay.
So, yeah, I saw that Bill had done an LLC on this, clear back in 1997, was it?
On what?
At Friends of the Bisbee Airport.
No. We had,
Bisbee Air Park,
Bisbee Airport LLC.
LLC, that's what it
We
was.
had it, and when it came up for something, I actually, said, no, I didn't need that LLC, and
Well, it's states, it's still registered with
Is
the
it?
state, and your ironic, I think, is your new liaison is Leslie John, and it was Red Fawcett that is the stat agent
yeah,
for it.
yeah. It was on most of them until I came along, and then,
Okay,
for the ones that.
so
we
that's
actually-
that's a dead horse. You might wanna let the state know that, I don't know how you do that. but-
Well, they asked me, and I said, you know, no,
Well, otherwise, you know,
it's
it's,
a 99-year thing, I think.
it is
Yeah.
until, but I think there's a way to terminate,
Yeah,
if you wanted to, Marilyn, I don't,
Yeah,
if you don't,
yeah.
I don't care.
yeah.
It's just that I was trying to do some research and I
You
came
found
across
that, yeah.
this and went, whoa.
Yeah, he did Bisbee Airport LLC. We also had a Bisbee Air Park LLC, a Bema LLC, a Baby LLC, and, I think the other thing. It's only a 2-page document, it's really easy to
Right,
do.
that's-
He used to have even more than that when I got with it.
Well, that's right when
A
LLCs
baby
first came
LLC.
out. in the
So,
state.
it was very easy.
What is a
Okay, so I-
baby
I'm-
LLC?
I didn't say a Baby LLC.
Oh, that's what I
It
meant.
was called Maybe, it was.
Oh, maybe.
And now,
Okay.
Maybe's for Marilyn and
I gotta
Bill,
get my
and then
ears
a
checked.
Bema's for Bill
No,
and
I
Marilyn.
heard baby too.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question.
Only 3 feet away.
Okay.
I have a question, do we have a timeline on this, like a drop dead timeline?
Well, the problem we've got right now is I know a little bit about 501c3s, and the IRS is doing really well in fast tracking them. And I know of one that went through in 3 weeks.
Oh, good, okay.
But I also know other ones that have taken a year and a half.
Oh.
Because if every dot is a dot and every T isn't crossed on that initial paperwork, then it'll take forever. They put it into a completely different pile. And so I'm just letting you know that. So,
One of the, I think one of the good things, what I saw in Bonnie's email today was that she was basing her composition of the draft that she sent to Robert on some IRS documents that IRS auditors use to look at applications. So as far as that goes, she's giving them back what they wanna see.
yeah, I don't think you
So I
couldn't,
think
you
we're
couldn't
on
do
it
any
there.
better than Bonnie.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Bonnie knows really what she's
Yeah.
doing, so. I
Beyond
wouldn't
that-
ever second
yeah.
guess her.
Beyond that, how long it will take
Yes,
to
sir.
the bureaucratic process.
But I'm going to suggest that we can't sit here and wait for that document to come through. That we've got to have a game plan, and we've got to move forward with assumption one, game plan A is that the document's gonna come through. First, you've gotta do your state articles, and get those signed, advertised, all of that stuff to be a state corporation before it even goes into the feds, is that right?
Yes.
Mhm.
It has to.
I'm not sure, it seemed like Bonnie wanted everything to kind of dovetail, but is it a two-step process? I'm not sure. State, and then IRS kind of piggyback on top of that.
Yeah, typically, you
kinda
you
that
gotta
sense.
have an entity,
Mhm.
which is the state nonprofit,
Which then
for,
becomes.
yes, sir. And so all I'm saying is this stretches things out, so you guys need to get this done right away. And then, I don't know if you're paying her to advertise and all that stuff, that's between you guys, but, you know, it has to be advertised. And, I think the observers,
Yeah, it's
for corporations is good, so that's
The
a,
record.
yeah, that, the record and much cheaper than, other places.
I've got some comments to make.
Yeah.
I'm facing to step down from vice chair. I'm passionate about the airport and all this. I'm offering to do an FBO, which I have a nonprofit already in place, waiting. That's the third solution, if this thing doesn't come to fruition. So I don't want conflict of interest, so I might have to sign up for vice chair. And continue that, pursue it there, or at the county airport as an FBO.
Well, Richard.
But see, I know I don't wanna undermine it, I just have one in place. I don't know what you guys have in mind. That's why I like to bring it up to the board, see what you guys say, what you think. Otherwise, I'll just step out and just be vice chair and just give advice and be part of that. Or the other way around, if there's an emergency, I could step in. This is, just a solution I have. It may be a solution, I don't know. It's just something on the table. Any comments, questions?
I have some comments in that, and I'm not trying to be an antagonist here, but since I've been on this board this year, or this commission, I haven't learned a whole lot about this LLC or Inc. or whatever it is that the Friends of the Bisbee Airport is supposedly doing. I don't know if it's,
We don't know what.
I don't know if it's
Are
a
yet
secret
either. No,
or what the deal is, but I've asked for information about it a number of times and gotten basically nothing. I don't know if it's going to fall under the umbrella of the commission, if the commission is going to go away. I don't know. I mean, I don't know hardly anything. You spoke about 5 people already being selected. Who are the 5 people? I don't even know that. Or maybe I don't need to know.
because
At this, I don't mean to
But-
be rude either, but at this point, all that's separate from the board. We did have a discussion on the board, and basically everybody doesn't, where we did, and you were there too, that we did say that the advisory board is gonna continue to function for quite a while, because some organization, it's an advisory committee to those 2 fellows right there. they need discussion amongst people also. If it's deemed that the people that belong to the Friends of the Airport actually shouldn't be on the advisory board later on, that's a decision to be made also. So these two guys are getting clear, unadulterated information. But right now, there isn't much for board members or non-members of the Friends of the Bisbee Airport to discuss. It's pure mechanic. I mean, we just said everything that there is to say. So it's not,
So,
there isn't a secret by a mile.
well, okay, you say that, but I don't know what's going on. I mean, I know the discussions we had previously,
Yeah.
but, you know, my point is, if this third organization is completely separate, has nothing to do with the commission, and we have no oversight over it ultimately, why are we even talking about it? Why is the commission even involved? I don't understand. I really
I
don't.
think those things haven't been worked out.
I think there's a number of, I'm guessing that in this 5 people, that several of them are members of the commission. I'm guessing that, and so they're kind of overlapping at this particular time. And you're probably voicing part of my frustration is because there's a lot we don't know that is kind of like city business that we should know, but that we don't. And so we're getting questions about this. We're getting prepared down the road to be asked to provide money for this. And that's why I'm saying today, we're here because these are things that we have to know. There's lots of examples of situations that are just not acceptable, that we've kind of let go, believing that this was going to be resolved in the very near future. And you know, one of those is we have unauthorized people at the airport running heavy equipment. That our insurance, that it's our insurance on that airport, that our insurance people are very unhappy about and say you can't do that because they're not city employees. So if they were your employees or your volunteers or whatever with a different insurance policy in place, then that would be, do you see what I'm saying? A totally different situation. So our liability, it's not only money right now, but it's our liability that's being exposed also by inaction. And so that's what I'm saying I'm not trying to be antagonistic. I'm just trying to have an adult conversation and laying it all out on the table and say, how can we fix this? How can we do this? And this is something that I asked for over 6 months ago. This is about 8 or 9 months ago that I asked for this. And so I am sitting here and realizing that the movement forward on this has only been very recently. So.
Well, some of us did meet with the city manager and ask questions about what was expected of us, but we don't know what's exactly what the city wants to do and what they want us to do. We have to sit down, I think, with the finance director and see how to work everything out. Don't we have to do
Well,
that?
Marilyn, but, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to, I'm not trying to cut you off. I understand why you're saying that, but when you say we have to have a thing to sit down with. You see, whether we call it negotiation or whether we call it agreements or what, we have to have a thing to do that with, and we don't have that
Well,
at
do
this
we
point.
have to be a viable organization before we can sit down to know?
Well, you have to be an organization with a plan to become viable.
Can I,
Why don't we have a request for proposal?
Let me jump in here really quick.
Just
A
take it right.
couple of months ago, we did have some back and forth in emails, and we were talking about, okay, how are we gonna get this done? And my suggestion at the time was that the commission form a tight work group, and that we staff work with the work group to get information out of the FAA, because there's a compliance manual that we need to be working within. And the other suggestion that I had was for us to look for a consultant who could guide us through this process. And my thought process was, with a small group within the commission, looking at getting that done, we could get guidance on what kind of organizational framework needed to be made by the third party, and that using those pieces of information, then we could settle out the negotiation issues that you guys determined by asking questions of it. But that work group never emerged, and we never got the opportunity to sit down between the commission's work group and the FAA, because the FAA has agreed to give us a single point of contact so that we can have somebody to talk to. And we didn't get any information from a consultant that could help us through this process. Because I think you guys are doing the right thing by creating an organization. Is it what the FAA is looking for? I don't know. And so that's the reason I think it was Andrews or somebody was a consultant that you guys had used before, but was more of an airport planning consultant and
Oh,
less of
Armstrong.
a
It's
Armstrong.
Armstrong.
Yes, ma'am.
Armstrong.
And I'm sure that there's somebody out there in the professional world that could guide us in creating the third party and moving forward, but we never got past that. We didn't see it, and then the next thing that I've got is kind of a list of concerns from Peter. And then, my response was, that's a little out of order, I think we need to get this work group together. And now I've got this letter, and you guys are forming a nonprofit, which is good. It's good that you're moving forward. I just don't want you to waste your time. And I think you need some input from a professional that knows, so that you're creating the right organization, and bing, bam, boom, you're in concert with the FAA and you're moving forward. So we want to help.
Yeah, right, we'll write the letters, we'll do whatever we can to help you. We just need you to help us help you. Yes, sir.
This is my last meeting on the, as a member of the commission, and I'm not a member of the committee, so, of Friends of the Airport. So, I've spent a lot of time, I've flown to other airports on my airplane, I've talked to other people in city government, what other people are doing. I'm a member of the EAA and AOPA, and I've talked to people in that. And it's not, what's going on right now in small airports around the country, and basically in the general aviation community, and that is, everybody has had to take different tacks depending on what airport, what city, how their airport is relationship with the city and with commercial aviation around it. It's not a one size fits all sort of thing. So your point's well taken, okay, about having, input. I don't have any skin in the game like these two here and live on the airport, and in fact, other than renting a hangar for Maryland for a while back and missing that relationship, I'm up at Libby Field, and I can tell you, for instance, that the city of Sierra Vista uses Libby Field as a sort of a cash cow for selling aviation fuel to the firefighting, and that's sort of how they do it. And they have 19 empty hangars, which they don't care about because somebody else built and paid for those hangars. They have an empty airport that they are not too concerned about because somebody else got a grant to build that airport and put all the infrastructure in, so they're not too concerned. And that's no offense to anybody in city governments, but that's sort of the way things were. I've been in government labs, and every year you add to the list to make sure you spent as much as you did the year before when the fiscal year comes up and all that stuff. So that's just the way government works. But Bisbee, so I agree with what you're saying. If there needs to be a solution that's amenable to Bisbee and to the Bisbee Airport in its unique things that are unique about that airport and its relationship to the city. One of the things is that I have seen out there flying my little airplane around and talking to people is that in cities, where where the attitude is such that they look at an airport as an asset rather than as a liability, okay, the airports seem to be flourishing and doing better because there's generally an attitude within the community that's adjacent or in that airport area that appreciates that airport. So it gets a little bit of funding to keep things going. And for instance, the Copper State Fly-In now is going to be out at Buckeye, and that because of real estate and industrial developers are out there,
You bet.
got active and went and recruited the EAA to move it from Falcon Field in Phoenix down to Buckeye. And I said, Buckeye? I said, that's an ag field. I said, I don't want to fly all the way to Buckeye. And they said, oh no, the city is going all out to make this thing. So I see things like that, and that impresses me because it shows that the local community and the local people involved in the community and business and that are actively promoting the airport as a vehicle to
Yes.
bring money and business into that. So I'll try to make this. My wife says I'm long-winded, and she's right. But anyway, just
We
But-
won't tell her.
okay. But Bisbee has a unique little airport, and it is in a really great position. You're close to the college. You're close to the Sierra Vista Big Airport. A lot of people don't want to go into that restricted airspace. I fly in it, and it's a sort of a pain in the ass sometimes because I have to fly in there, and one time they put me between a C-130 and two F-16s. I'm not making it up.
Whoa.
And I fly at like 80 knots, and I'm pedaling as fast as I can. And that I would have much rather gone down here and landed at Bisbee, when I could talk to the, local traffic and land. So you have something here that's worth something. Now, what the city does with it, I don't know. I think one of the things that I would see is that there needs to be an awareness. And I don't live in Bisbee, so I'm speaking out of turn. But I love this community, and I was on the Arizona Rangers. I was in your Bisbee company, and for 5 years I walked the Gulch for you guys. And so anyway, it would seem to me that there needs to be an awareness of the Bisbee community. I'm talking about the people, the population, of that there's an asset sitting down here, and that if it's allowed to go to ruin, if it's allowed to just dissipate, and that, it's a loss. Okay, and once you get to that stage, then you can't resurface, you can't do a lot of things because you've allowed the asphalt to deteriorate, you've allowed the property to deteriorate. So that awareness that it needs some maintenance, it needs something to keep it, at least maintain its present condition, and that, it's important. And the general attitude of the public here that they have an asset in the Bisbee Airport. It's a valuable piece of property, and it's an asset. It's service, it brings people in. That, to me, would be a core of any kind of plan that anybody wants to put forth or to, because it has to be something that the people of Bisbee can understand, not just that it's an airport down at the south end of town or something, but that it actually can bring business in, bring people in, that it's part of the Bisbee infrastructure and a good piece of it. Other than that, I would say do what I've done and check around with some of the other airports. I flew up to Safford. They've got a lot of commercial activity up there, painting, aircraft maintenance and stuff that's going on up there. Their airport runways are well maintained, and like I said, I've flown around the other little places, Ryan Field and some of those. And so I think you have something, but how it's presented and utilized and how you generate a plan that's unique, well, that's the key.
Yeah, well, a lot of it's an economic situation, and as you well know, an awful lot of cities are wanting to get out of there, or, wanting to get
Sure.
out of the business, because it's not a money maker. And there's, the vast majority of the population is looking at it as, those are the rich guys over there that have the airplanes, and so I don't want any of my tax dollars going to them. And, I mean, there's this stigma. As far as Safford, as you're well aware, we got 2 copper mines up there operating, which kind of helps that airport out a little bit on some of that. But your points are very, very well taken. What we're up against is we don't have the city staff to do this. And so if this is going to succeed, then we need the people that use that airport, such as yourself, to step up and to band together and to do something about this that we can then work with on just those things you're talking about fly-ins and things like that, rather than the city owning it and trying to do that, having a group manage that, and us working with them through the Department of Tourism or whatever to get this stuff done.
A good FBO, for instance, is key to most airports.
Yes,
We,
sir.
we reminded Sierra Vista that they were acting as the FBO, and then apparently their attorney didn't like that, because it accrues a certain amount of responsibility in
Bet.
case anything goes south and the city becomes the FBO. But if you have a good FBO, that's one key element. The other thing is, what unique things could you do? For instance, Safford, they have a painting large, I mean commercial, they paint commercial aircraft up there, jets and so forth, and I went up there. And they have some large hangars, I mean, where they can put big aircraft in there. They're filled and they're busy and they're painting, and that's income. And so I even thought, geez, you know, why would I fly all the way up to Safford to get my airplane painted if I could come down to Bisbee and get it painted?
Right,
You know?
but Safford doesn't own that painting business.
No, somebody else does.
Yeah,
And so
that's-
encouraging business
that's my point.
Yeah.
to get onto the property. Like, for instance, Eric Swisher has his flying service, and down there in that hangar that's a city-built and rented hangar. And he has a lot of people. I know that I was recommended when I was getting current to go down and talk to Eric, and I spent, I spent almost $8,000 down there. So, and that was renting the plane afterwards and buying your fuel and doing everything else. I sold my motorcycle, by the way, to pay for that. But, you know, but that's a business, and that's good. If
Yes,
you
sir.
had a place where people could do avionics, there's no avionics person, and Sierra Vista just told the one mechanic that does avionics that he was not allowed to do avionics on their field, even though he has a state license and everything else. They ran him off the field. So the rest of us were sitting there saying, you know, what's going on?
But
Yeah.
that, right. and
So if you
that's-
had something like that
Sure.
down here, people would fly their airplanes in.
And another example of what this independent group could do is attracting some of this.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
talked
there's-
about this before.
There's lots and lots of possibilities, and we, as a city, are in the position of, it's an albatross around our neck right now, to be.
No, that's, I like the frankness,
But,
actually.
but we also have 80 acres next to it, you know? We'll open that up, we'll, all the development you wanna bring in,
That's north of it,
yeah,
and Swan Road's there,
right.
but, and there's.
Well, it's,
And also, it's also in the area of influence, so you can't have real tall buildings there, but you could have certain
Correct.
ones. Yeah, because, Bill wanted to put a second story on our house, because we filed with the FAA before we built
Mhm.
our house, and hangars, we got all the right
Sure.
forms. And I think we're the only ones there that did, but anyway, I think the others just follow in our footsteps, but, if we wanted to put a second story on, we had to have a red light, because,
mhm.
it was.
I think jet fuel, they mentioned Jet A.
Yes, sir,
And that was one of the other things that the commission recommended.
absolutely.
So I think all of those things, if you could put down a plan, those of you that are with the Friends of the Airport and get, that's what you're looking for, isn't it? Is a
We
plan.
want a game plan, and as an example, if, you know, fuel reader and so forth. And so if you're looking at 10 or 12 grand, you know, there's possibilities where that can be worked out with this group, where the city purchases that. And this group then pays the city back over a period of 5 years
Okay.
or whatever, based on the money they make off the fuel.
I can say,
The
for
city
instance-
doesn't want this airport, we're not there to
Oh,
make
no, I
money.
know, I understand
We're
that.
there to provide, to help with the
Mhm.
service and help you.
I mean, right now, there's no 100 no lead, okay, in this area of Arizona. There are other states that has no lead and no ethanol, okay? And it's just pure 100 octane gas. I know of 2 people that are driving all the way to the New Mexico border once a month with a 250 gallon, I'm not making this up, tank and a trailer.
For race cars?
And, huh?
For race
No,
cars?
for their
Oh,
airplanes
no.
at Libby Field, because because Libby wants to just sell 100 low lead and Jet A, and that's it. If you had, even a small tank, let's say a 500 gallon tank down here, you could buy something like that, pretty simple. Swift, gasoline sells it all over the country. I talked to the people at Swift, okay, and they're working on trying to get it into Arizona and into the Phoenix area, but 100 no lead is absolutely beautiful for aircraft engines because there's no lead fouling, it's good for the environment, it's, you know, so it's eco-friendly, it's available, and you can put it in certified aircraft, and nobody around here is selling it. So that would be another one. Besides a Jet A, I would say even if you had a small 500 gallon tank that you could have out here, I would fly down here, I would fly down here, and so would about 5 other people I know to fill their tanks. And one of the guys that's in Benson right now was in Benson because he could get the gasoline he wants, and I know he would probably move back down here if he could get it.
What's happening with the Friends right now, as I see it, is not where people sat down and like you're talking a plan and let's do this and this. It was airport, no funding, close airport. We need to do something, and now we know that we need to be something, some kind of entity. So we sure haven't looked at this big plan, and really everything that everybody has said around this table just now, I've heard before over and over again during the years, and it's nice to say, let's do these things, and I'm not saying we can or disagreeing with, I'm saying, all we've been trying to do with the Friends group, and we sure haven't been trying to keep anybody in the dark, my apologies. Because I've been the person who's contacting people, and I've mostly been working with this man here. But it's kind of like emergency disaster 911, we don't want this thing closed, let's do something, okay, we need to be an entity, okay, we're going to Bonnie, okay, we're trying to incorporate 501c3, and that's, you know, there hasn't been a plan.
Well,
Hopefully we can
yeah.
create an entity and do something and step into the management, maybe if it has to be small steps at first, whatever, and then from there, I look at it as a patient coming to ER, we want to stabilize this airport, and then maybe we can, you know, build up from there.
Well, yes, as an outsider looking in, I see, I'm a little frustrated
Mhm.
because you got a lot of talent sitting right here at this table that you're not using. I mean, he's talking about I mean, we've got this guy here that knows a fair amount about aviation, and he's not being consulted about any of this. And we've got this gentleman talking about the needs here and how you could attract more flyers down here, and that's the purpose of a committee and commission, is to communicate and to come up with a game plan and bring it to the city, and that's where we're at. So what is the game plan? Where are we gonna go from here?
And we have talked about all the things that we could do. Also, we have some.
But Marilyn, and please don't take this wrong, but we gotta do more than talk about it.
Oh, I know, but I say, so, the one thing we can do to bring the 100 no lead is to buy a truck. How many gallons does a truck hold? You know, they have fuel trucks, when you go to an airport, they come around and fill your plane. And, could even have one of those, you can get them fairly cheap, I think, different places. So, it's the money, and let me tell you, you know, with the new tax law, and they're upping the standard deduction,
Mhm.
a lot of people aren't even gonna be able to deduct their charitable giving, so charities are gonna be hurting, I understand, in the next year.
They already are.
No, this is the last year that you're gonna be able to do that. So, a lot of us who give pretty much money in this city are not going to maybe get deductions. So, not that that's what we're all looking for, because we just wanna help out things, but, yeah, and we've talked about all that, and the courtesy cars that we've asked for. This town, you know, people would fly in if they had a way to get there.
I understand,
But
but
we've had-
again, that's what the group needs to get together and to do. a group can put together a courtesy car a hell of a lot faster than the city
Well,
can.
yeah.
And we've had problems. We've had problems with the courtesy car. We had a courtesy car out there, and it ends up driving all over Cochise County. That's one of the reasons it was pulled.
Yeah.
That was before my time, because I've talked to multiple people about that. And then about the 100 low lead, those are great, or no lead. That's great ideas, but we have infrastructure there that needs to get fixed first. You know, I did the research on a new card reader. It's $12,000 for a wireless one. You know, I think that's where, you know, this is me just as a staff. These are the things that the city, for an entity, we could do some of these things, get that, do the work that has been neglected on the building, because there's work that you know, we weren't aware of until recently. No one told us anything that needs to get all these things. We don't have the staff to do it. You know, it doesn't even necessarily. I understand that about charity and nonprofits. We just want an entity, whether it's a nonprofit or whatever. You know, to use the example of the animal shelter. You have the Friends of the Animal Shelter that we, as part of the agreement, we do the maintenance on the building and a certain amount of money, and they operate and manage it. So we don't. The only thing I do with the animal shelter is, hey, the air conditioner doesn't work. Okay. Hey, this is broken. Okay. You know, and that's, you know, and I know that's kind of a broad brush to paint it with, but there are a lot of options. It's just, you know, and you don't have to do everything at once, but if to stabilize the place and say this is what we need to do, because, you know, that I live in Old Bisbee. I talk to a lot of people too. I talk to the local people. They don't really, you know, you talk about bringing the knowledge of the airport. They don't really care either way, because, and that's not. Well, what else are we gonna? We can't do anything, you know. I think there's a lot of missed opportunities, but we don't have the time and the staff to do that. That's, you know, and it's just it's unfortunate, but that's what's going on. And I don't know what the future is. I know that we are willing to work, and we're energetic to work with somebody to you know, to actually use, because we do see it as an asset.
Well, and the city's hands were tied for a long time. You know, we need water there. You know, we have Naco water. It's barely, it's a trickle kind of up there. There's no fire suppression at the airport. We looked into doing wells at one time, and there's no water. I think the mining company has, I only have crevice water. There's no aquifer apparently anywhere out there. So that's a problem. That's a problem. The building, yes, the building where the office is and the apartment really needs a lot of work. There's a big, and it needs, you know, it's got a concrete floor. There's a leak in there. There are all kinds of things. The toilets never work right. Some of us have already talked about using our own money and remodeling a part, but apparently the city has also talked to Mike Duran about, you know, saying, oh, didn't know this was in this bad a shape, let's fix it up. If the city would hand us something that where we, you know, obviously we're not gonna have enough money to put into a lot of this stuff, so is the city willing to
Okay, here's what I'd like. See if it's all right with Robert. By January 15th, I want a written plan as to what you're doing and with a budget.
What do you consider, just offhand, in terms of money? What did the city put out for in the last year's budget for the airport, if any? What monies?
Oh, there was.
8,000?
Okay.
Was it 8,000 for the budget last year?
No, but it was 23 or 29,
Okay.
something like
Yeah,
that.
it's pretty small.
20,
The 23,000 comes to mind to me, but it may have been a little bit more than
It's in
that.
the low
It was under,
20s.
it was under 30.
Yes.
okay, so,
yes.
so the annual, what Bisbee, the city of Bisbee put out for the airport in last year, or whatever, was somewhere around 20, give or take, few $1,000s, okay. So, in terms of planning for, you know, the group, in that, what would the city consider to be some sort of an investment in, say, improving the infrastructure by repairs to the building and bringing it back up?
I don't.
Would there be any, or is this a zero thing where we have?
No, I don't, personally, I don't look at repairs to the building as the same thing as the budget we're talking about. I mean,
We're not. The primary interest is getting a third party together so we can negotiate how the third party can run the airport.
Do
The
you
objective.
mean an FBO, or do you mean a committee, or?
I'm saying that what the city wants to do is say, here's the airport, you run it. And whatever you make at the airport, you keep at the airport. You figure out how you wanna spend those funds. If you need FAA dollars, we'll help you apply for it, we'll funnel the money through to you. But we're not capable of administering and managing the daily affairs of the airport.
So if I got this clear, okay, what the city of Bisbee would like to do is basically disconnect from the airport financially and managerially.
I don't know why the city wouldn't continue to provide support as this third party's getting on its legs and going. And that may
Eventually,
take-
yes.
That
No,
may
no,
take
thank you.
multiple years, but yes.
Okay,
But in
All
the
right.
nascent years of getting started, you're not gonna have the resources that you need to actually make it all happen at once. And so you may need, city support on
Sure.
fuel
For a
depot,
while.
you may need, things done. We certainly don't wanna have people living in space that we control that's not safe. And I can't ask people who are not contractors to do work on property they live in that belongs to.
Yeah, we're after a game plan. And it may be a multi-year game plan, but we're after something that we can look at to sell this.
okay, so I just need the direction, you told me the direction you went in.
Yes, sir.
That's what I was
Right.
curious.
I mean, it's no secret.
No, I know, I
that-
just.
That government doesn't run a lot of things real well,
Mhm.
and an airport is
No.
one of them.
Okay,
Can I say something? It seems to me, I've been listening to what everyone is saying, and it seems to me that we're looking at stages for this thing, and we need a game plan. How are we gonna get, first of all, this organization? And what is the steps to do that? Then what do we need to do for the stabilization of the property? And then what are improvements? And bringing, and what's the game plan as far as improving it, bringing in people, and so on.
Well, and the other part of that is, what I'm hearing from whoever's on this supposedly Friends of the Bisbee Airport,
It really bugs you, doesn't it?
it does bug me because I don't know who to talk to,
Well,
It's me, Marilyn,
Okay,
Dan.
so correct me if
Wait,
I'm.
two more, Mike Norman, who's working
Okay.
at Libby in Sierra Vista at the field, and Buzz Hale, who's got airport experience.
Okay, so let me ask you a direct question.
Please.
What is your end goal as a nonprofit? What is it you want to see happen? And where I'm coming from is, we've talked about economic development, bringing in business but then I'm also hearing, well, we just wanna maintain. Is your end goal wanna just keep the status quo the way it is today? And just
Short term.
float and
Short
stay
term.
there?
Short term.
Short term.
Or do you have long-term goals of economic development? I think they're two completely separate
well,
topics.
I see that as a
I agree.
continuum.
Yeah.
I see that as different stages. Your end goal is that this is where we wanna
Yeah,
be.
sure.
But first of all, we've gotta become an organization. Secondly, we have to stabilize the place, and then third, we have to have improvements in it, and then, also the,
And I think you're right. I think there are stages.
but it.
But what I'm hearing is, nobody's really laid that out.
That's what I'm saying, that's what has to be laid out
I
in a
mean, we
continuum.
talked about this nonprofit for at least 6 months. Why is it taking 6 months to put together a nonprofit? Or even the
Okay,
paperwork,
Peter.
or even the articles of incorporation? I mean, I'm confused there.
Peter,
What's
can I ask you
taking
this?
Early on.
forever?
Bonnie was-
I think in August, things started really happening. I was away, Marilyn was away, Bonnie was back October 2nd, we got going, the LLC went along for a while, then she said nonprofit, so, I mean, there's no great reason. Late start, slow out of the gate.
Peter,
And
can I
none of
ask-
this
And
was-
now we
none
can
of
go
this was-
forward.
None of this was planned, this was like I said, gun to the head, airport closed, zero funding, closed airport. So I I guess we better do something, or else, what are we gonna do? Well, let's form a group. Well, how do we, there's so many questions, and still, for a game plan, even a short-term one, I've sent questions to Robert, things that we'll need to figure out. What about the fuel? How do we do this? What about leases? What about tie downs? What about, are we gonna
Actually-
assume that? Is the money from the card reader
But
gonna
what-
go to a friend?
I understand that, but what,
But those are the things we need to answer, just even to have our short-term goal.
I don't agree.
I'd like to propose
Yeah,
my
okay.
FPO, even though I'm
Yes.
part of the board, you're a board member and you have friends.
But you
I can
need-
get
you
the
need
FPO
an
up and running
FPO.
right now.
You can't do it without an
I already got an
FPO, Richard.
LLC,
You're
I mean,
right.
I mean, it's a corporation, it's a 501c3, so I could work, request for proposal, showing what services, and in lieu of pay or it with whatever, we're come to some kind of agreement. I mean, I already got it done, I got it done.
No
and-
offense,
and-
but when you ran the airport long ago, you were like often not there, and there was some contention, and Richard, I'm not trying to
No,
say
Hold on,
anything.
guys. Hold on.
I
Hold on.
just-
Let's- no, let's
I don't
not
think
do
this is such a good
Let's
idea.
not do this. So, you wanna make a
Sorry.
proposal, make a proposal.
Yeah.
Okay? We're gonna make a proposal, everything's good. Let's
Yeah.
stay away.
I just want a
We're not-
solution.
We're not here for a piss and match, okay?
Yeah, no, I don't.
I don't want a
solution.
group of, people that are supposed to be interested in the same thing, having that group is fractionalized into different little clubs, because that ain't gonna work,
No, not at all.
you know?
Well,
You-
if the
you-
commission, if you want the commission to, I mean, we can step back and say, maybe we're approaching it wrong, and we're being more divisive than what is
No,
needed, and maybe
Nobody
the
is,
commission should be doing, I mean, I just don't know, we're just.
well, nobody has said that, because the
We're
commission
bounding
is the
forward.
city,
Mhm.
and that's what the city,
Can't do it.
that can't do that.
Mhm.
That's what I'm saying. You're doing that right, I'm just wondering if you're leaving some people out in the discussions.
Could be.
Forming this commission is a function of forming this group, the Friends, call it whatever you want, is a function of this commission. And what you've done is,
No, it's not.
well, then what we need to, if that's not, then the commission becomes the group, and those people that aren't in the five of you might as well not be involved.
Looking at this from the city's eyes, the city has an airport that it runs directly right now. And the city council has an airport commission that provides advice to it on how to run that airport. And what the city staff and what the council have concluded is the city staff can no longer run the airport. And financially, the airport is not gonna make it the way it is today. And so the council has come to the commission, who provides advice to it, to say, can you get a group together to take this thing on and keep it alive? We'll help support you as you do that, but the council can't do it. I can't do it. I can help, but I can't do it. You guys are the experts when it comes to aviation. You're the advisor to the council. You're the ones trying to get this third party together. And looking at the deal points and the negotiations over who's getting what out of fuel, you can't even really talk about that until you've cleared the structure of the organization you're making with the FAA, and you have a plan for how you're gonna transition running that airport over to this organization. And for that, you need a consultant, a little bit of one, you need an attorney, and you need the FAA. And this kinda got passed around in October, and we really need to be showing some progress on that, cause I'm gonna walk into a budget session, and so I'm gonna start talking budget in 3 to 4 months, and I need to have something to bring to the table so that when I'm back in front of the council again, I can say, we still need money, to get this thing done.
The council, the mayor and the council, this isn't new, the problems at the airport. But I feel it's my job to either fix it or not fix it, because the operation is not a class operation. And so that's why I'm doing this. It's not that this has just happened, it's been ignored. It's been a can that's been kicked down the road. And I just don't want it kicked down the road anymore. And so I'll look like the bad guy that's pushing on this, but we need this done. And we want the airport, and we want to be able to use that airport for all of the right reasons, but we can't do it. And I realize that as mayor, and I'm just standing up to say it, where others, quite honestly, have ignored it.
That's right. And it's really good that you're doing that. And those of us that have been at the airport for 23 years
Wow.
really appreciate that change in view. It's really good.
But we're also, there's the possibility of FAA closing down the airport, and that's another reason to get it.
Yeah.
Well, you can't, Close
They're
it
gonna
down.
be, they're gonna be really hard pressed to close the airport and quit the funding, because then they gotta take that budget, just like you
Well,
just
they,
said.
they,
That budget
they have
money.
threatened that a couple of times.
It's really gonna screw things up for them.
Well, we do
But now
have,
you're there.
we've got money coming to the airport. Is it this coming year,
It'll be available to us.
or is it the next year?
Every year that we don't take it, we lose a little bit of it, and.
Yeah, well, we gave it to Benson this
Yeah.
last
Yeah.
year,
Right.
you've been,
but then we get their share and our share.
yeah. Was it just Benson or did Andy have a
No,
whole bunch
we,
of
well,
other
Andy
airports?
did, but we,
You had other
FAA, we got the entire counties.
Okay.
Yeah, well, so we should be getting,
A bigger chunk.
a bigger chunk, sir.
I'll just, this is my last night here, I'll just make, generally, I think, there has to be a sort of I've been in aerospace for 50 years, okay, and I've worked for private companies besides government labs. And usually in private companies, there's a vision.
Yes.
There's a vision statement, there's a high-level plan, and then that high-level plan drops down into the detailed plans of how it's going to be implemented. I've put business plans together with companies and to get investors, and that's what they want to see. An investor coming in, he wants to see what's your vision, what's the overall general idea, where are you headed with this, and then how are you going to get there, and it all flows down.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So I think that's what you want.
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
Okay.
You hit the
Now-
nail on the head.
Now, it's not as easy, I just said it,
No,
like it
it's
was
not
easy,
easy.
but
It's
it's
not easy.
not. It takes a lot of planning, and like I said, I really respect these two people, because I know both of them, not Dan as much, but I mean, they've got a skin in the game, big
You bet.
skin in the game. Okay, and to me, I don't know why, but see, Bisbee's like a unique little jewel out there, and the airport being so close to it, in that, for instance, I went and looked into you mentioned the automobiles, and I went in and looked, and I called some of the airports around. And one of them said, "Oh no, we got this website. You want to come out? We'll have a car reserved for you." And I said, "Well, how does that work?" "Oh, it's on our computer website." "Oh, you got a website?" "Oh yeah." Log onto the website and you fill out this little background information. Just a little bit, we don't get too intrusive. And then we clear you through to make sure that you're, who you say you are and everything else. And then, like the real estate, we give you a lockbox thing, and then you get the key. And the car is beautiful. It's not a new car, but it's clean and well maintained. And you just agree that you're going to bring it back, and it's going to have gas, and you're going to go where you said you're going to go. And there's a time limit. And if you don't do that, then you don't ever get to use a vehicle
Right.
again. You're off the list. But if you bring it back and it's full of gas, and you put it where we said, and everything else, you're good the next time you want to come down. So other airports have faced, for instance, that particular
And it takes
situation.
staff.
And they have taken a hold of it and made it work for them. So it's all those little key pieces that in your business plan, if you want to call it that, for the airport, that's got to include it. And I also think you need to have somebody that sells gas, that can get the profit from that gas, somebody that can get products that say that Libby doesn't have, that attracts them in. Benson up there, Eric and those guys, they have fuel sales every now and then, so we all fly up there and fuel up
Right.
there. And it probably doesn't save us any money at all getting fuel, but it's an
But it's fun.
excuse. The flyer planes, right?
That's right.
So those little things, so whatever, there has to be that activity in that group that sees that and is inspires other people to,
But I'm not asking for all of the drop down.
no, but you,
But I
You wanna see
am
that you-
asking for the business plan. I'm asking
Okay.
for the synopsis, and then how we're getting there.
Exactly.
And who's involved, and give me some time elements. That's what I'm at, is that,
Yeah, and in between now and when the thing gets done, there are things that we still can do. You know, we can deal with the fuel issue, we've got the research done now with the fuel distributor on how to deal with that. The airport car really isn't that big a deal because we have this agreement with, the county. So I can get a nice pickup truck for next to nothing.
well, we've got 50 vehicles going on auction
Yeah.
next month.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
That's
right.
where it
Listen,
used to come
I use, you know, I had a guy working for me with a 182. So we would fly to all my cases all over Arizona and New Mexico. And I used those old clunkers forever. You know, someone running on
Yeah.
3 cylinders and blowing black stuff out the back, but they got me to point A to point B
Yeah.
and so forth. So, yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Robert, do we have, the ability to find a consultant, or do you guys need to find a consultant that could help with a business plan and also a business plan for an airport?
Staff is.
Talk to Cochise County Business. His name is Mark. What's Mark's last name?
It's called Cochise County Business.
Yeah, let me see if I can get you right to Mark.
Oh, I know who you're, starts with an S.
Small Business Development Center.
Yeah, it's small business.
Yeah,
development,
yeah.
Cochise
Is
County.
it
Yeah.
Schmidt or something?
Schmidt, yeah, isn't it Schmidt?
Yeah, staff's
Schmidt?
out of our element, beyond knowing that we're gonna kill it if we keep it. We have no expertise here. We wanna support, but we really don't know,
Right.
the consulting world or any of the legal issues. And if,
Isn't it,
you're much better off having an attorney that's familiar with FAA and aeronautics than asking the civil attorney that we currently use to try and chase that stuff down, because they just don't know.
Mm.
it's a community development, isn't it?
Small
David?
Business Development Center.
Yeah, yeah,
It's Mark Schmidt. He's-
Schmidt.
Schmidt,
yeah,
yeah.
thanks, Mark Schmidt.
No, you can thank the CM, who came up with it first.
Oh, did you? Okay. So Marilyn or whoever, Mark Schmidt,
Yeah, I'll write that down.
Cochise, and,
Small Business Development Center.
that's right, and he's always saying to me, you know, make sure that you tell people about, so you use my name and you tell them, Smith said that I'm to call you, and you better
There
not,
Okey-doke.
okay? Yeah, Mark's a good guy, he should be able to help with, he does business plans and he does this, and he should be able, because of their aviation program, be able to hook you up with perhaps a consultant too.
Years ago on the commission, we did try to encourage development down at the airport.
Yes.
And, a couple of us, Gordon and Bill and I think McKinnon was the attorney, we put together a land lease package. Gordon and Bill wrote it and then with, McKinnon went over and helped. But we put the, the members of the commission, we put all that together. And then, we even had a layout of where the hangars and everything should be. And then the consultants came along, didn't know there was even a plan in place, and changed everything on the plan, so. But we did, the commission used to try to do a lot of stuff. But we used to meet on a monthly basis, and it was amazing how much stuff got actually done when we met more often.
Well, do understand with your group of 5, you're not bound by commission rules.
Right, so you can.
So you can meet every day if you want
Yeah,
to.
so you don't have to
But,
worry about, yeah.
We need the other members of the commission and Robert and I to know what's going on. So
As soon as we know.
knowing that, is January 15th doable to get a synopsis?
Holidays.
Well, you see,
Yeah, I know.
60 days from that, we're back into the cycle for,
No. Well,
and what I'm
you
saying
said
is,
you're gonna do
that's a month.
Well, the budget's gonna change much, would it?
What-
Because if
what-
you all are gonna
what-
still have to,
Well, Marilyn, what can change is somebody goes, wait a minute. Last year, when we gave them 30 grand, they said that they were gonna do this, and we have nothing, so why do we have to keep putting money down the rat hole?
well.
That's
but
for the
when-
operation of
But that's
of
for
the
the,
airport,
that's
though.
for the operation of the airport, so yeah, and it's what, you come,
You're
Six
preaching
years.
to the choir, that's,
but you're six thousand.
Somebody did take the suggestion of keeping the lights off at night, and I wanna thank them for doing that, whoever, maybe it's your fault. But somebody listened, because I was after that for quite a while,
Oh, yeah.
and finally it
The
happened.
electric bill was gone,
So
so.
that was-
Wait, which lights? Because it might be because they were broken.
The runway-
Okay.
The runway
Okay.
lights don't come on at night for about a month now. And
Okay, good.
And it's, they'll come on, you can turn, I've tried it, you can turn them on and off normally during the day, but
Okay.
hopefully somebody filed a
to
note.
write it out and get it.
But that was a big cost saving, because most of our power bill was
Surely.
the lights coming
Of
on
course
at
it is.
night for other people clicking.
Of course.
And, I talked to a guy, the president of the Arizona Airports Association before, and he was with the group that runs, Deer Valley, which is the
Mhm.
busiest airport in the country. They come up about $2 million in arrears at their airport. The city doesn't run it, because cities don't usually run airports.
There you
They have an
go.
airport authority to do it.
Yeah.
But he said the city of Phoenix gets so much money from all the people that are there, because it's so big, and the people use it. So it goes out into the, you know, it's the trickle-down thing, where people pay taxes, they shop, they own homes, it's everything. It's not just what the airport makes, it's that they bring
Mhm.
business to town. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, so, and this one can, you know, we can do the same. I've even talked to my grandson in Maryland, who is, he's gay, and he's with the Out Foundation and some other thing, and he's real big on doing fundraisers and things, and I said, gee, when we have the Pride Festival, maybe you could do something and bring pilots in, and we could get them in town. He said, Grandma, I'd love to do something like that, so,
Well, there's all
so
kinds
there's
of,
all kinds of things.
there's
that
all
we
kinds of
can do.
opportunities, but
Yeah.
we need somebody to do this. It's that simple.
Everything is changing, and there's a lot of people that are upset. I just retired again in June from a company in Tucson called Vector Space. And we were building small rockets to launch 50 kilograms maximum to about 600 kilometers in orbit. Because there was a hole in the market that nobody wanted to launch
Right.
those little satellites, right? Elon Musk has taken on NASA's role by sending the Dragon up to the space station and all that, and he's doing things like landing his rockets down vertically. So
Not
he-
today, so good.
Not today,
Yeah.
that was
No,
a
that
bad
was-
one.
Yeah. Well, it'll
He's had a few.
happen.
But
Misfires.
the thing too, and that's why I'm saying it, for some of us that stuck with the industry as long as we did, as I did, I kept working in that, because I love my work, in that we saw these changes coming with other people. It was very disruptive, and they retired and quit and said, I'm done with it. And that because either I get this much salary and it's done by the government and it's funded by grants, and NASA does this and I'm in there and all that. And when all that money just started going away, and companies started going under, because they had been heavily relying on the government to supply them with the funding to keep building $500 toilet seats and things like that, that's what they did. There were those people that saw it as an opportunity. And I'm not trying to paint Bisbee into a lovely, pretty little picture down here with the airport, but there is a solution to this, and there is an answer that works. And I don't know what it is, but it's there, because I've seen it happen in other industries. You know, it's not just general aviation and Bisbee Airport that's having this issue or these changes. The whole industry is being turned over. Okay, and those cats that can survive, those wolves that can hunt when it gets lean and can stay in that game, they're the ones that are succeeding. And like I said, I'm going fully down to Copper State Flying down at Buckeye, and then that's like a one thing down there, but the business people in the community were the ones that got it in. It's free, for the first time, it's free admission. They're preparing all this stuff and putting up all this stuff because they're developing, because Phoenix is expanding up that direction and they wanna be ready. But I think there's a unique solution for Bisbee. And I wish I had that solution, I would give it to you, but I can't. But I think that you have enough smart people in this room and people that are committed that you'll get there. I really do. If you put out and think this thing through, there's gotta be a solution somewhere.
All right, thank you.
Any other comments?
I wanna make sure with what we're walking away with.
Do you have the timeline, or?
Yeah,
we're
what
still-
is our
Are we still
timeline?
sticking to, January 25th,
They said 15.
or 15th, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
yeah.
15.
Just see the way you
snuck
snuck
that
10
10
extra
extra
days in there.
I
was
knew
smooth.
Trump, but I was ready. I was ready. And
I think we better stipulate 2019.
He's used to me doing that. He
Yeah.
catches them all the time.
Yeah. All in favor of the 25th?
Let me just ask these two people, are you clear on what he's asking for
Yes.
by 15th of January? Okay.
I-
That's all I wanted
Business
to know.
plans,
I
synopsis,
sent-
time
So,
elements.
as long as you guys do, good.
I sent a handful of you, Mr. Schmidt's contact information. You should be able to drop it in your address book.
he can help you a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the first step, is to get a hold of him,
Yeah.
because I think he can help you, as the mayor said already.
Yeah, he's, all right?
Meeting's adjourned, anybody opposing?
Is that the right time up there?
Yep. 6:42. All right.
Thank you all.